Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Malachi 3:6 and Psalms 102:27 tells us that God is never changing. He doesn't change. Because some believe that from the Old Testament to the New Testament that God changed. In the Old Testament, God seems like He was just unforgiving and vengeful. Then you had Jesus coming in the New Testament, who was God in the flesh with love and grace and mercy. But if you look closely at the Old Testament, God had a lot of mercy and grace and love. He gave the people chances. He would give them warnings, and then there had to be discipline. He doesn't tolerate sin. In Psalms 99, in verse 6, it says Moses, Aaron, and Samuel, how they called upon the name of the Lord. Then in verse 8 it says how He answered them, and to them He was the God who forgives. Now Aaron, Nahab and Abihu, they were His sons. God punished them. He killed them with fire from heaven because they defiled His temple. And yet Aaron sees Him as the God who forgives. And in 1 Timothy 2:4 we're told that God desires all men to be saved and come to the full knowledge of the truth. And in Romans 5:8, God demonstrated His love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He loves everybody. And we can't understand that sometimes, that how God can love everybody. And a lot of people, sometimes we look at others and we say, well, I'm not as bad as this person. I don't do this and I don't do that. Well, God's not going to compare our righteousness to them. He's going to compare it to His righteousness. And in Isaiah 64:6, it tells us that our righteousness is, in His sight, it's filthy rags in His sight. Even on our best day, it's just filthy rags. Now, God is, and a lot of people, and Jesus was love. He was grace. He showed mercy. He showed compassion. He worked miracles. But let's look at Jesus in Revelations 1, starting at 14. It says, His head and hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and His eyes like a flame of fire. His feet were like fine brass, as if refined in a furnace, and His voice as the sound of many waters. He had in His right hand 7 stars. Out of His mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and His countenance was like the sun, shining in its strength. And when I saw Him, I fell at His feet as dead. So that's the Jesus we're going to stand before. And God is merciful, He is holy, He is just, He's loving, He has grace, but He does not tolerate sin. So we're going to stand before Jesus one day, the Jesus Christ that I just told you, who is the same today, yesterday, today, and forever. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Have a great weekend.